Derek, I see your seal. Are you on audio too?
I'm right here. Yes.
Okay, good.
Sorry, I was just
Fixing your hair?
finishing up something real quick, actually. It's not one thing, it's another.
We're waiting for Zach to give us the word that we're open to the public. Welcome, Dennis.
Thank you. Had a little trouble getting on, but I made it.
Roger, you're good to go.
Good, thanks, Zach. This is the Duncan Park Commission meeting of March 16, 2021. We're meeting virtually due to the ongoing pandemic. Hopefully soon we'll be able to be together in the same room and conduct business. Meanwhile, I'll call us to order at 7:05 p.m. Good evening and welcome. My name is Roger Kottner, President of Duncan Park Commission. We're conducting this public meeting by remote electronic means. We may do so only if all members can see and hear each other and hear and be heard and seen by the public. I understand from Zach that we are being seen and heard by the public. And I think we're doing that via Facebook live streaming, and that members of the public will have 2 opportunities to be heard during this meeting. We cannot presently meet in person because of the various guidelines in place during the state of emergency caused by the pandemic. I've circulated City of Grand Haven electronic meeting procedures adopted on October 19, 2020, pursuant to Public Act 228 of 2020 as Exhibit A with tonight's agenda. And it's also posted on the city's website, as I understand. Commission members, as I call the roll, please verbally certify that you're attending remotely and declare your physical location, including city and state. I'll start. Kottner is present in Grand Haven, Michigan. Sass?
Here she is. Georgette, take yourself off mute.
She appears to be stalled, so I'll move on to Van Ball. He has emailed me and indicated he cannot attend tonight due to being called out of town for work. I'll excuse that absence. Holland?
Here in Granville, Ohio.
That's Granville, Ohio.
Yep, no D.
So that's just outside of Columbus then?
Yep, it's where Denison University is.
Okay. And Nancy, are you here with us?
I'm here in Grand Haven, Michigan.
Excellent, thank you. And Georgette, are you here?
She's, ask her again.
I can't hear you, Georgette. I can't hear you. Try again. Can't hear you. Call in technical support, would you please? While Georgette is getting things squared up, We also have some others present. Derek, are you with us?
I am in Grand Haven, Michigan.
Good, thank you. And Dennis, are you with us?
I'm here in Grand Haven, Michigan.
Great, thank you. And Georgette, are you all mic'd up now?
Mhm.
Well, while Georgette attends to the technical difficulties she's having, I'll move on. Are there any guests that want to be acknowledged on our live stream feed? I know Pat McGinnis is in the background, and I suspect he's in maybe Dublin, Ireland, or Grand Haven, Michigan.
I'm right here in Grand Haven, Roger.
Excellent. And Zach Van Asdol is working the Facebook stream. I suspect he's in Grand Haven too.
That's correct.
Excellent, thank you. And Georgette, are you mic'd up now?
Oh, there you, she's,
Promising.
do it again, Georgette.
Roger, just so you know, we're on YouTube Live because of the other feeds. And I'm monitoring those any comments that may come through.
Excellent, thank you. I'm not exactly sure how to deal with Georgette's technical difficulties.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can, thank you. And where are you?
Allendale, Michigan.
Great, thank you. We have a quorum of 4 out of 5 commissioners. That's good. Ground rules for the video conference. Only one person speaks at once. Seek recognition from the chair to speak. Don't interrupt. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Chair would entertain a motion. I'll move.
Motion,
Jennifer, you want a second?
either me or Nancy, yep.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Nance. As we open discussion on approval of the agenda, I would like to add trail marking as new business item I. It appears that I omitted that from the agenda, and I apologize. That's Jennifer's proposal, and I want to have a discussion about that proposal. Are there any other additions, corrections, changes to the agenda? As I indicated to the commissioners, the public use trails designation is not ready yet. With the commission's approval, I'd like to remove that from our agenda tonight. Just as an update, Georgette and I met with Kurt Tahar on Saturday. It was a beautiful day to take a walk in the woods, and Kurt is going to be tweaking the contoured trail map that he previously provided to us. And I think that if we delay our discussions until next month, we're going to have a trail map that has 3 different colors of trail that will include designation of designated trails, trails that are there, and and there may be some. There are also some trails that we're going to try to limit the use on. So I think those 3 colored of trails will help us make a decision about designation of trails. And I'd also like to remove in old business item 10A6B, which relates to the history piece of the for want of a better word, the poster that Kurt is going to make us for the kiosk. That's not quite ready. I do have the The history mostly drafted. I sent a draft to Georgette. And I got some great materials today from the archives out at Grand Haven Township, Tri-Cities Museum Archives. And I'm going to try to incorporate these into the history and circulate that well in advance of our next meeting so everybody can have some input into it and make sure I don't mess it up too bad. With all that said, I think it's time to approve the agenda. I'll start with a roll call vote, and I'll start with you, Jennifer.
Yes.
Nance?
Yes.
Roger votes yes. Georgette?
Yes.
The motion carries 4-0. The agenda is approved as discussed. Public comment. Those addressing the City of Grand Haven Duncan Park Commission are asked to provide their name and address. They'll be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. The City of Grand Haven's Duncan Park Commission will hear all comments for future consideration. We will not have a response at this time for comments made tonight. Either type in your comment on the YouTube page and or call 616-844-8324. Let the phone ring until it is answered. If you get a busy signal, please wait, watch, and call back. We will take all callers for today's meeting, starting now.
Roger, just so you know that I am also checking the Facebook feed of the cities, just in case there is a commenter on that as well. So
Good plan, Derek. Are you a good multitasker?
I've got 2 phones and something to ring in my hand as well. So there's 3 ways to. We also could have a. We just started this last night at the council meeting, but if someone would want to call into the Zoom, I will give the number out, and then what happens is they'll wait in a waiting room. So maybe not this call the audience, but the final one. But that would, so we could address them then. But that call into the Zoom would be 1-312-626-6799. I'll say that one more time. It's 1-312-626-6799. So they just call. They'll hear a hold music, and then we can put them on that way as well. I do not have any calls. There are no comments on YouTube, and there are none that I see on Facebook either.
Okay, if you would interrupt us, Derek, in case somebody chimes in a little bit late. I know there's some delay on various media.
Sure.
We'll move on to new business while we wait for public input. First item of new business is consideration of a motion to adopt a budget of $12,000 for park operations for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2021 and ending on June 30, 2022. The budget was circulated as Exhibit B. Does anyone care to make that motion? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Georgette. It's been moved and seconded to consider a budget of $12,000. Essentially, our revenues will be coming from the Duncan Park Fund as reimbursements to the city for the city's payment of our expenditures. They're broken down roughly about $10,700 for professional contractual, $400 for electricity, and $900 for water. Total of $12,000 income and outgo. This is based largely on the budget that we are currently operating under. Is there any discussion of the budget? Jennifer?
I just want to clarify that this is like an operations budget because this doesn't include other discussions that are coming in the future, like the pavement and things like that. So is this strictly just operations?
It's projected operations. The pavement is going to come under this fiscal year. So we're going to need to do a budget amendment to take into account the pavement should we choose to do that. But yeah, this is our best guess as far as operations are concerned for next fiscal year.
Okay. So no improvements or anything like that. So this is just for operations.
Yes, operations, and I think there's a little buffer in there. I don't think we've got $10,700 worth of professional contractual committed yet. As I recall, it was about that amount for this current fiscal year.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get it. So this is for, since I'm not seeing the breakdown, I guess I did see parts of it, but from Titan, what Titan cost, what leaves and weaves or weaves and leaves, what Jerry, what's his name, Jerry, Terry, Steve, that's what that professional contractual is, correct?
Yes, and you may remember we had about a $4,000 erosion control project in our expenditures for the current fiscal year, and that is not being included in this budget because that would take it up to about $16,000.
Okay, so that's not any of that. All right. How difficult is it to get approval, or is it just something we bring up again if we want to do improvements in the park, or if we want to do maintenance on a building? Is that, because that's not going to be included in any of this, correct?
I would say standard maintenance is included in this. And when I say standard, it's the stuff you already recited. It's not unanticipated. It does not include unanticipated expenses. And we would approve those or not as a commission as we go through the year, and we may need to do an amendment to the budget. You may remember we did an amended budget, I think it was in January. For whatever reason, that amendment to the budget did not make it to the financial reports this month. I asked Amy Bessinger about that, and she said, I think City Council has to approve even your amendment to the budget. But for the most part, what we try to do is we try to operate in the black. And if we approve a project, then we're obviously going to need to amend the budget to accommodate that project.
Okay. So if I'm hearing this correctly, since it has to go through the city council, it is going to be about a 2-month process between us deciding to do a project and actually getting the money to do it, to be able to move ahead and take action on that project.
No, I don't think that's right.
Oh, okay.
It's just city council's adoption of our amended budget. We can fund a project in fairly short order based upon either our minutes as approved or our proposed minutes, or on an email from the president to Amy Bessinger saying, yeah, we agreed to do this at our meeting last night. So this is coming down the pike. You may want to seek reimbursement from the Duncan Park Fund in order to, and that reimbursement process, that's not instantaneous, but the city's pretty good about paying our invoices.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to get an idea of if we decide to move ahead with the paving and that happens in May and we don't meet again till April, I just want to make sure that, the city council meeting was last night. I'm just trying to understand. I just don't want to be caught off guard when we want to move ahead with something. That's all.
we can move ahead tonight, or we can move ahead tomorrow, or whenever we want to move ahead, we can move ahead and authorize the expenditure. As far as city council is concerned, that's only ministerial, as I understand it. And Dennis, if you want to chime in anytime that I'm misspeaking, please do. But as I understand it from Amy, our passing an amended budget is good because we're in the black. But the city council may not do budget amendments at their every meeting or every month. But they may do budget amendments 2 or 3 times a year, and they would see our budget amendment and would incorporate that into their budget amendment. But as far as our authorizing funds to do projects, that's not contingent on city council approving our amended budget.
I think that's true, Roger. I think you guys, you're pretty independent from us. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, you're probably the most independent board that we have. And so I think you adopt your own budget, and I don't see where we would never approve your adopted budget, as long as, like you said, as long as there's money in there to cover it. You know, and you're not in the red, but like you're right. I think we do. I know 2 times a year we do budget adjustments for us, and so I don't see a problem with that. I guess I don't know. Just my thoughts. Maybe in your budget you should have some kind of a, I don't know, I think contingency fund. I think most budgets have that in there. I think probably Public Works have that, don't you, Derek? You have some kind of a contingency fund or something that.
I've kind of built in the contingency fund into the 12,000.
Okay. All right. You know, that's fine, Roger. Yeah. Okay. I'm just thinking outside the box here now. But yeah. Okay. But if you got that built in, that's fine. That's good.
Just for clarity, yes, like Roger, you build in a little bit of extra funds to cover small, minor maintenance needs or whatever, but not capital necessarily, capital projects.
Right. Yeah. And you put that in your budget, Derek, when you in different funds, you put a little contingency in each fund, right? Like
yes, yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of, I call it for lack of a better term, fluff to cover those unexpected minor expenses.
Yeah, I just that's how we normally do it, but I don't know. You know, I mean, I never worked underneath you, so I don't know.
So as I understand it, city council does 2 budget amendments a year, more or less. So that
yeah, the previous finance director just basically did 2. Amy Bessinger's trying to do them like monthly more often, just to try and keep up on them. So they'll probably flow more freely in the coming years, if you will, with her at the helm.
Okay. Georgette, you raised your hand. I recognize you.
Thank you. I'll lower it. So one of the problems I have is usually, at least with a personal budget, I have some sense of how much money is coming in. So when you say our budget is $12,000, I was wondering if you could explain to us, because I've never really understood. I know that we have a nice size fund, but we definitely don't want to touch that principal, I would think. Do we have that kind of interest that make that kind of money? Like, I don't, in my own personal life, I wouldn't make a budget of $12,000 if I didn't know I had $12,000 coming in. So I really would like to understand how to think about that. We should never think of our money as limitless, right? So what is our situation? I can't really make a decision about a budget unless I understand that.
Patty McDonald with the Grand Haven Area Community Foundation informed me last week, actually late last week, March 12th, that without taking into account the costs of managing the fund and the income from the fund, I believe it was last posted, I think it was December 31. They just post quarterly. But the ending balance of that fund as of March 12 was $582,004.68. The rate of return is, I think they've been pretty good about it, but I think after expense, the management expense, it's probably a net return of somewhere between 5 and 10%. So if it's 5%, that would be about, well, if it's 10%, it's 58,000 a year. If it's 5%, it's 29,000 a year.
%'s awfully, oops, sorry. Never mind.
I'm just using that as a guide. I think the rate of return is usually about 8%. And I believe that there's a management fee that takes it down below 8%. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but that's my recollection. So I think the $12,000 of our revenue is well within the $29,000 rate of return that we get on the Duncan Park Fund. So we're living within our means until it comes to the paving project. Go ahead, Georgette.
So are we going to be responsible for any of the legal fees associated with the most recent settlement?
No.
Okay. I mean, that's an unexpected expense that I just wanted to make sure we don't know. We're not going to be encumbered by that.
And let me point out that there was no settlement. There was a decision made, and there are legal fees. And as I understand it, the city of Grand Haven has set up a Duncan Park
Defense fund.
Legal defense fund that is separate from the Duncan Park Fund. I understand that, I don't know the nuances of the financing of the legal defense team, but I do know that the city and the insurance company and this Duncan Park Defense Fund have shouldered those fees. We have not been asked to shoulder those fees, and if we were asked, we would decide as a commission whether we chose to do that. Derek?
Yeah, just so you know, those fees and all that, haven't been totaled yet. So those answers of what covers what, yeah, I think the hope is that the defense fund covers everything and the insurance company and all that stuff. But just so you know, they take months, as you know, as an attorney, Roger, they take months to finally roll in. So it'll be a couple months before all those numbers are have been tallied and totaled, and then, like Roger said, there should be a discussion.
Well, there most certainly will be discussion if any of those fees land on our budget, but as I understand it, they won't. The city and the insurance company and this Duncan Park Defense Fund are shouldering those fees. So there are no legal fees involved with this $12,000 budget. Any other discussion about the budget?
Who's that?
That's coming from Nancy, so I don't know what that is. Are you getting some email or something, Nancy?
I am. Oh,
No.
I don't see anything on my screen.
Okay, well, why don't we vote on the motion? I'll call for a roll call vote. I'll start with you, Nancy.
I'm here.
You want to vote yes or no?
Give me a minute. Well, let me ask a question. Do I understand that if we want to amend that 12,000, it's not a big deal to do that. It's easily done quickly, correct?
We can approve a project at any of our meetings. Once we approve the project, if it takes us over our budget, then at some point in the future, we'll need to do an amended budget.
So it wouldn't be hard to get a hold of the money if we had something we had to do.
That's correct.
Okay, then I'll vote yes.
Roger votes yes. Georgette
Yes.
and Jennifer.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Next item on the approved agenda is consideration of a motion to authorize the city to enter into a contract to pave the park drive and parking lot at a cost of $39,520.40, and to authorize the reimbursement to the city for the cost of this paving from the Grand Haven Area Community Foundation's Duncan Park Fund. Chair would entertain a motion.
Motion.
Been moved by Jennifer,
Second.
seconded by Georgette. I'm going to offer an amendment, and it's a bit complicated, but I think we can get through this okay. I circulated an email today. Is there anyone who did not see that? Everyone saw that?
I did.
Okay. Dennis Scott called me last night to point out the potential savings of about $3,200, I think. No, $3,400, whatever's in the memo. If we were to offer to help the city with some of the difference between Michigan Pavement and the Superior bid. The total with Duncan Parks paving showed Superior coming in as the low bid because they bid Duncan Parks paving just shy of $33,000. So if I could offer an amendment to the motion so that it reads at a cost of $32,810 and to authorize Duncan Parks participation in the cost of paving from Sheldon to the lift station in the amount of I thought I had the number written down. $3,487.25. So I'm not, that's my offer of the amended motion, and I would call for a second if anyone would care to save about $3,200, $3,300. I'll recognize Jennifer.
I will motion to have the discussion because I want more information.
Okay. So the amendment is on the floor right now. And we'll discuss the amendment and then we'll vote on the amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll go back to the main motion. And if I could perhaps ask Dennis to share with us his insight so that he explains it a little bit better than I did. I'm sorry about that. Dennis?
Hey, Roger, I'll give it a shot. Okay. What happened is and Derek can verify this. If I get it wrong, Derek, you can yell at me, okay? But anyways, okay. The city took bids, and the way it came out, they bid the city projects, and they bid kind of, I guess, an extra, it would be the extra, what would be the Duncan's Woods project. Superior came in with Duncan's Woods with $32,400. Is that right, Derek? About that, and then Superior, or not Superior, but Michigan Pavement came in with a bid of $39,000. So and with the city, they were the other way around. Superior was the high bid, and Michigan Pavement was the low bid. And anyways, so it got turned around, and there was enough money to turn it around that that if you were to give the city what the difference was between the high bid, which was Superior, then this is kind of, I'm going off my memory here too, but anyways, the bottom line is that if you subsidize the city's payment to make them whole with the high bid that they got from Superior, then you would get the low bid from Superior for your project, which would, like Roger said, you would have to subsidize us $3,400, but that would give you a savings of over $3,000 for your project. So instead of paying $39,000, you would actually be paying around $36,000. So you'd be saving a little over $3,000 for the same project. And I seen that last night before the council meeting. I looked at that, and you know, they were suggesting that we take the low bid for the city and then give you the high bid for your project. And I'm looking at that. If you would subsidize the difference, the Duncan's Woods project would be $3,000 less. So by giving us $3,400, you're actually giving yourself $3,200. So anyways, it made sense to do it that way. And I argued that at the council meeting, and they went along with me. But the thing is, though, you have to prove that tonight, because we have to have the bids in the pavement, the people that put the pavement down are going to need those quotes for our approval to accept those quotes. Anyways, those quotes are only good for, I think, from April 1st. So we need to get the approval for this thing done. But by doing it this way, you're saving over $3,000. And it just makes sense. I mean, we could have done it the other way. And it kind of made it a little simpler for us if we just approved our project and then give you the high end of it. But I didn't think that was right. I think, you know, why would we make you pay $39,000 when you can end up only paying $36,000? So it just made sense to go the other way and let you subsidize part of our project, and we would break out even that way, and you would save $3,200.
Thanks, Dennis. Derek, can you clarify it any further? You think that we're good?
No, that's a good explanation, Dennis. Thank you so much. The total cost then under the resolution passed last night for the city council would it be $36,033.15. Now realize those are bid prices, and so if you would think of asphalt as a commodity, where they bring in the asphalt, they quantify what we pay per the ton when they deliver it and they install it. So, you know, these are all they're not exact numbers. It's not like you get a quote from a contractor not to exceed, and you know you'll never get it lower. It can come in a little bit lower, it can come a little bit higher. Usually they're very close, and I say within a percentage or two. So as we award the 439 that the council awarded last night, brings in some little contingencies. We talked about a little fluff, if you will, depending on how many loads or how many tons of asphalt that they actually end up using. We only pay for what we get, so just keeping that in mind. Very complicated when you do alternate, and when you come in like this, where with the alternate it's lower with this company, without the alternate it's lower with that company. Thank you, Dennis, for coming up with and seeing those differences. So,
Gary,
if you
could you give us the total number, the 32,810 plus the 3487?
Yeah, so the difference between what the city low bid is 439, 466.85, and what the low bid for Duncan Park total with both of them combined was 475,500. The difference is 36,033 and 15 cents. So that's what you would be approving tonight. 36,033.
I've got a slightly different number, but I don't think we need to quibble over $6 right now. Georgette, you want to be heard on this?
I just have a couple of questions. So, aren't you obligated to take the lowest bid? I mean, I'm just wondering if these two companies heard about these sorts of negotiations, what they would think. And that was one question.
Let's get an answer to one question and then we'll move on to another, okay?
Sure.
So the answer is if we do the alternate, which is Duncan Park, we are taking the low bid. If we don't take Duncan Park, then we have to revert back to the other company, which is MPM. If you don't, you move forward Duncan Park.
Okay, I have another question. So, well, actually two more questions. So if we had put a bid out ourselves, I mean, like if we just asked for Duncan Woods, right? Not to be included in the city. Do you have a sense of how much more that would be? Are we saving money by throwing it in with the city? And how much would that be?
There's no way to tell that, Georgette, because what we know it's going to be quite a bit, because they're not going to move all that equipment in for a little job like Duncan Woods without quite a bit of they would charge you to move the equipment in and out, and if we concluded in our project, the equipment's already here. So and you get a better price for the bigger quantity, and they're included that with our quantity. So you're actually getting, it would be if you put it out to bid by yourself without including with the city, it would be substantially higher.
My estimate would be probably 20 to 30% higher minimum.
Hey, Roger, can I ask a question?
Yeah, I'm trying to make some notes. I forgot to appoint an acting secretary in Aaron's stead. Anybody want to volunteer?
No.
And I'll take responsibility for that. Go ahead, Jennifer.
You can watch this again on YouTube, right? This is being recorded. Yes. Okay. All right. Just in case. My question is, they're going to grind up everything and remove it and then put new down. Is that correct? Or are they going over top?
They're going to go over top of everything. The milling, there was some milling inside of there. And so what they would do is mill the edges to meet the existing dirt, the existing grade, and then you actually get an additional layer over top of the existing asphalt. So.
Okay. So why I asked that question is that it might be a minimal amount, but that parking area is very deep and we might not need it as deep. I don't know if we need that much parking that you can get 2 cars behind each other. And I would ask the other members if they think the same thing. I don't know if it saves us overall and it gives us more green space in the long run. And also, that's one comment. The other question would be, do they fill in the potholes with like limestone first before they pave over top of it, or is it just going to sink again?
They'll fill those in with asphalt.
So they'll just double up in those areas?
They'll fill it all in with asphalt and then they'll pave over top of it.
Sorry, that was curiosity. So
If you would like to entertain the opportunity to change the parking lot, that's a whole different scope. And I would recommend then getting a separate bid to remove some portions, remove the gravel, return it to green space, move the parking bumpers. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. It's just, it's a whole additional kind of mindset if that's what you want to do it. Resurfacing just gives you right back what you have there, as far as layout and square footage.
okay.
You have any indication how long ago how long it's been since we repaved that drive?
I have no clue, but I would say at least 25 years.
I agree. I just like to comment that, I mean, it would be a lot substantially higher if you were going to redo that parking lot. I mean, that parking area. It's up to you if that's which way you want to go, but that's going to be, you're talking about a little more expense, quite a bit of expense more, really.
Yeah, my idea was just to move it back and to shorten the space actually. And it right now wraps around that big oak tree, and to just move it back 5 feet. I just didn't know if it was going to save, or if they were going to grind it, then we could have them stop it. But if they're going over top of it, then they're not actually grinding it and removing it. So that, again, like Derek said, was going to added cost. And if we went in there ourselves, and yeah. So I just thought I would say that because it takes less volume of pavement or asphalt material. So then our costs would be down. But if they're not removing it, then that's another can of worms. So I'd still do it though.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment, specifically whether we should offer to participate with the city so that we can get the lower cost from Superior? Jennifer?
I understand the numbers and I would agree to make that difference if they believe that is the correct company to go with.
I think City Council is ready to go with Superior or Michigan Pavement, depending on what decision we make. I believe that both companies are highly regarded, Derek, and if you would chime in, if you would, to make sure that we're not getting a company in that isn't going to be able to do the job right.
No, both companies are adequate to do the job, definitely.
I've worked with both companies and they're very, very, very good work. Both companies are great.
Are we ready to vote on the amendment?
One more question. Did you adjust the dollar amount, or are you keeping the dollar amount the same?
The amendment adjusts the dollar amount. I came up with a total to the Duncan Park Commission of $36,297.15. And that combines the $32,810 number for the Duncan Park share with the $3,487.25, shall we call it participation in the Sheldon to lift station piece. So my number is $36,297.15. Go ahead.
Will you round up to 37,000 and it gives yourself a little bit of fluff? Very minimal amount of fluff.
I'm okay with that as an amendment to the amendment. Is there a second to that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. So the motion is now $37,000 for paving. Any further discussion? Let's take a vote first on the $37,000 amendment. You wanted to talk about the $37,000 amendment, Georgette?
Yeah, I would have gone down to 36,000 personally. That's what Derek said, but that's okay. No, it's not about that. I have another question.
About 37,000 or not?
No, I have another question. So we can vote on this.
Let's vote on the $37,000 proposed amendment. I'm going to take a roll call vote, and I'm going to start with me. Roger votes yes. Georgette?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
And Nance?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. The motion is now amended so that it's a $37,000 cost of paving project. So we're on the main motion now. You had a question on the main motion, Georgette?
Yeah, I did. So Derek was saying, you were saying that, you know, this can change by some little percentage-ish things. What's the percentage you said? I mean, because if it's 10%, what we just bought is nothing, right? Oh, I can't hear you.
They muted just so no, it's usually within a percentage or two. And,
Percentage, okay.
Yeah. And honestly, our engineers, add a little bit of fluff, or you call it whatever in the numbers, the square footage, to try and make sure. But the idea is like, it's not, I want to tell you, it's not the exact number. It's what they bring and put on the ground is what we pay for. So we should be fine. I'm very confident. The last 4 years, we've been within the actual dollar amount awarded by council. So, yeah, we will charge you exactly what we, what the cost is.
Is there any other discussion on the main motion, which is to approve a $37,000 contract for the city to enter into with us to reimburse the city up to $37,000? If not, I'd ask Georgette, would you signify whether you approve or disapprove the main motion?
Approved.
And Jennifer?
Approve.
And Nance?
Approve.
And Roger approves also. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. That was a little bit tricky wicket to get through, but I think we did just fine. And Derek, would you please report to the city, and Dennis, please report to the city what action we've taken tonight. And if I could also express the commission's appreciation, Dennis, for your watching out for us.
Thank you.
I mean, 3,000 is 3,000, but that's 3,000 we don't have to spend. Thanks to you.
Okay, I just crunched the numbers and looked at it, and I just, I thought I could save you a little money, so.
Next item on the agenda is consideration of a motion to approve the use application submitted by the Tri-Cities Family YMCA for a kickoff to summer run to be held on Saturday, May 29, 2021, between 8:30 a.m. and 10 a.m. for a use fee to be determined by the commission. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Georgette moves, I'll second. Unless you want to, Jennifer.
Oh, you go ahead. Let's go.
Okay. So I think Derek circulated the use application. I had a few questions, but I'll defer to other commissioners if they have questions too.
See, I have one small question, and I'm sorry I did not read the application, but do they cover insurance for that? Do they have insurance, or is it just part of the city thing?
they included an insurance certificate with the main application to the city.
Yeah, again, I apologize. I didn't read that, but thank you. Okay.
Have they paid the application fee, Derek?
They'll be invoiced since they're a corporate member, so I have no doubt that they'll pay their $25 fee.
Would you make sure that before we see a use application, we have the $25 in hand?
I will make that known to Shar Sese, who takes those. Absolutely.
Thank you. It appears that they're going to try to raise $12,000 for their scholarship fund. Does the commission have any interest in assessing a use fee?
What would that be, Roger? What do you think? I mean, I think we've done this in the past. I don't actually remember the kind of use fees we've had.
Well, we charged Journey to Bethlehem. I think it was $1,000 or $1,100 the last time they used it. Typically, what we look at is, are they generating funds? And, you know, if they're generating funds, then we feel, at least in the past, that we ought to get a piece of that. Now, you know, it is for scholarships, but it is for the why. And the $12,000 may fall a bit short in case it rains or snows or whatever. So I don't know what the correct amount would be, but I would think a use fee of somewhere between $200 and $500 would be appropriate. The reason I say that is they are taking up parking spaces in the park. You know, they will be disrupting use of the park. I know there's a lot of people in the park these days, especially during those hours. And with 300 runners coming through the park, that may be an imposition on people who want to use the park at that time. I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other, but I just wanted to make sure that the commission considered whether we should impose a use fee or not. Jennifer?
Can we recommend that they make a donation to the park? And then we base it on what, then they can base it on what they earn. So maybe they'll be more generous, maybe they won't.
We could try that, but I think if we were to state that the use is approved for a fee of X, then we know that X is going into the Duncan Park Fund.
Okay.
Georgette?
Yeah, I do like the idea of a donation, and I understand that that's variable. I'm wondering if this is something we should take up at another meeting and, you know, have a sort of agreed upon value for the use of our park.
Well, the use application does state that the hourly rate is $100 for residents, $150 for non-residents. For a day, the fee is $500 for residents, $750 for non-residents. That's on the use application.
So how, and do they actually give a duration to give us, you know, sort of, do they?
They state that it runs from 8:30 to 10.
Oh, so I think we can use that period of time. It's an hour and a half. Couldn't we just use our use $100 per hour times an hour and a half?
That's fine. I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the commission that it wasn't really clear what they were prepared to pay us. And so far they've paid us nothing. So I think it is a use of the park, and we have charged for uses, even though those uses have been charitable uses in the past. I think Journey to Bethlehem benefits Habitat for Humanity. But I think if our use application says this is the fee, then I think we're certainly within bounds of charging that fee.
I agree. I like that. $150.
I agree.
It's been moved by
150.
Georgette and seconded to make the fee $150. Why don't we vote on that amendment first? And I'll start with me. I'll say yes. Georgette,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and Nance.
Yes.
So the amendment says that the fee will be $150. Let's vote on the main motion now. Is there any other discussion on the main motion? Hearing none, I'll ask Georgette to vote on the main motion, yes or no?
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Nance,
Yes.
Roger votes yes too. That's 4-0. Derek, would you inform the Tri-Cities Y that their use application's been approved?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discussion of Commissioner Holland's fundraising proposal. Jennifer?
So I gathered information from all of you about what your ideas would be. And the idea is to eliminate a few, or some of them are sales oriented of materials, and some of them are gatherings. Some of them are events, sales and things like that. There's other things such as making sure, like if we have Facebook donations on or a GoFundMe thing, I'm not too thrilled about that, but I rather do donations via the Facebook page, and then that would go into the community foundation and things like that. So from the information that I received from you guys, the next step I would actually like to take is to first, if you guys have something that you're like, absolutely not, but what I would do is organize it by either an event or a donation or, solicitation or sales. There's a handful of things here that one of, like, you guys, different people brought up. I didn't identify anybody, but one person said, let's do a community picnic. Another person said, let's do a little concert with local musicians. And then there's a bunch of things to sell that we could possibly sell, but we could probably pull all these things together in possibly an event. And I know that you guys did I believe it was the 100 years of Martha. Oh, there's Dance. Who did we lose? Oh, nobody. That you could give me experience or tell me what your experiences were on that as well, if it was a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if Georgette was on there at that time. Were you on there? Okay.
No.
So I know that they had a event. So it must have been like 7 years ago or something, or 8 years ago. So Roger would have to fill us in on that. So anyway, out of all these things that create sales, I put them in alphabetical order. Is there anything that you guys want to eliminate at all right off the top of your head? Georgette? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to Roger, but
I think you keep all of it. These are all possibilities. I don't think I think keep all of it on our, in our minds and on your list here. I think they're all great ideas. I really like the idea of, why not an anniversary? of the date, that the park was given. I think that'd be really cool to do something on every anniversary.
Okay.
I think it's kind of in there, like you're saying, sort of to gather some of these things into one place at one time. And I think that anniversary date would be a really great one. I think it's October, isn't it? I think it is October, which is such a great month. So,
well, I think that's a great idea as well. But we might, just because it's October, might have the fall thing. So I think that we need to, if we have events there like the artist show and we do the fall drive-through, that we're spacing those events out far enough that we're not disrupting the park every weekend. You know what I mean? So that we limit those we just spread them out throughout the year. So, but I mean, there's things that we could definitely group together and things that we could take advantage of when the trunk show, the artist trunk show comes along, that we can get donations then, and we can possibly sell some of the swag that, there's a handful of things that people are recommended that might be just swag with just IDs or, Duncan Park information on it, the t-shirt, the note cards, the water bottles. I don't know, but I'm just thinking all those things can be clustered together. So
the anniversary is October. I mean, the deed date is October 22nd.
Oh, okay.
And that kind of fits really nicely with the fall color drive too.
Yeah. Okay. All right, sweet. So does that sound like something you'd want me to do? I didn't anticipate that you guys would want me to go through, or do you want me to go through the list and you say yay or nay? Or is there a nay that you guys know right off the top of your head?
There's only one that I don't like.
Okay, which one's that?
I for some reason, you'd have to talk me into it. I don't like those GoFundMe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't like them either, but it's there. So
yeah, it's there. But I mean, I would go along with it, but I for some reason I just don't like those.
Well, they take a pretty big percentage of it too. I think they take like 8%. So it's not.
Yeah, I don't even know about that, but
more than that.
Is it more than 8%? Oh, okay.
Is Roger MIA or what?
No, he came back.
Oh, I don't see him. Okay.
He's got a different
Near my
background.
library.
Yeah. He's in the library.
Oh.
So if you don't mind, that's what I'll do, is I'll put these things together. I mean, so that we can cluster them, and then maybe we can talk about dates and then what it would take to make it happen. I mean, some of them will take a lot of effort and other ones won't. Last fall, and I'll share this with you, it was my idea, but it was something since we had COVID and people couldn't get out to trick or treat, that I thought it would be cool to do a drive through the park, but we physically wouldn't have to do anything. We would work with the Eagles or the JCs or something and have them organize it, collect the money and collect the characters or whatever else. Like, if I'm just thinking of people jumping out at the woods while you're driving through the park is what I'm thinking. But then yet we would just get a percentage of those proceeds. So as long as there wasn't any damages to the park at all and contraptions and whatever else, but I don't think they could do much different than, the Bethlehem thing. I forget what it was called. The Walk to Bethlehem.
Journey.
Journey.
Jennifer, I did find it. There was one other thing, like when you said the mountain bike trail race, or whoever said that, that's not on our paths, right? That's not on ours. That's not in Duncan Park.
We'll just take that right off of there.
Thank you.
I don't know who suggested that crazy idea.
Is it? Okay.
You gotta go big and then come down. How about the cross-country trail run though?
I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, not the mountain bikes.
Yeah, no mountain bikes, no GoFundMe.
Yeah, we don't.
It might be helpful, you know, I think it's always helpful to brainstorm and gather ideas. But I also think it's helpful to take little bites.
Yeah, like, I don't know if you were here, I said I would organize everything a little bit different. I just wanted to know what people didn't want at all. And then I would cluster them a little bit closer together, if it's an event, we'll figure out if we want to move ahead and space it. And then if there's a lot of things that we can cluster all together, maybe in one event. I don't know if you heard that or not.
Yeah, I've been here all night.
Okay, well, you disappeared for a while while you're changing your background. So, I'm curious though, does anybody have any one favorite? Georgette, which one would you like?
I really love the note cards, the local artists note cards. I love that. Especially if it's like of Duncan Park. That's very cool.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Good. Nance, do you have one?
Well, I thought Georgette was going to say the concert, but that's what I like.
Okay.
But we can incorporate other things with that.
Yeah, that's what I see too. Roger, what's your favorite?
I think the drive-through's been successful in the past.
I'm looking for it. Sorry.
Under fall.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. Hey, Derek, you got one? Come on.
I don't. Nope.
So I kind of like the dog parade pet show that you could judge people and they pay a fee to participate. So the city of Northport, Michigan has one whole day they dedicate to a dog parade, and thousands of people come around with their dogs and dress them up and just walk them through the streets. So I don't know if there's a fee for that at all, but it brings in a ton of people. So when you have these events, I'm always thinking of the crowd ends up making donations while they're there too, being entertained. So anyway, okay, so let's move.
No, wait.
What?
Denny just wanted to chime in, I can tell.
Oh, Denny. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's okay.
What's your favorite?
You mentioned the one that I like. I have 2 dogs here, you know, and I think that's pretty cool that you have that dog show in there. I think that would generate a lot of interest. Yeah.
I think so, because, you kind of keep them off, and I don't know how we'd have to figure it out if you line people up or how it would be done. But yeah.
We have to get some I think there's more doggy bags in there, but yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Well, there was the Earth Hero compostable bags that we can sell and make a profit off of at the show itself. So we'd have to sell full-size bags. So, and extra garbage cans that day.
And Nance, I'm sure you'll be quick to purchase those bags, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Double up. All right.
Move on.
Yes.
I'll be having 2 dogs then.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Discussion of Jennifer's proposal to create a maintenance schedule for all man-made components located inside the park and develop a budget for each component. I'm going to defer to you, Jennifer.
Okay. So I sent you photographs and did a kind of a partial count on the components that are in there. And so what I am asking is there a maintenance history at all, which we know now that the pavement has been 25 years. So, but I don't know if you guys can go through this. If you know it, you know it, you don't. And if you actually would put on here, like the, maybe the maintenance, like when do you think this needs to be worked on? Like we have a few retaining walls that are there that are going to need attention. And you say, okay, let's not do that this year. Let's just move it on to next year. It's, you know, we can take an estimate of what it was going to cost. But first to figure out if you guys are actually interested in making any of these improvements at all. And then at that point, making a track, and then we can get costing put together and then add that to the budget. But I don't know how you guys feel about the maintenance, because it should be done.
Yeah, and what we've done during my tenure, it's been a mere, what, 8 years, Dennis? We address issues as we need to. We haven't in the past done too much anticipation. Until the past year or so, we've relied heavily upon the city's crew to fulfill the maintenance needs. I'm sure if you wanted to go through the minutes, certainly over the course of the past 8 years, you could see what we spent our money on, what we discussed, what improvements we approved, what improvements or maintenance we didn't approve. You know, I think it's an exercise. I don't know how fruitful it would be. You know, I think certainly there are things that we need to do, and we've addressed one of those needs tonight, I think. The Park Road is just in atrocious shape, and I'm going to be most pleased once Superior goes in there and puts a fresh coat of asphalt over the drive in the parking lot. You know, I think, frankly, if that's a 25-year fix, that's money well spent. But from my perspective, it would be time consuming for anyone that wanted to go through the minutes. I've got all the minutes, so if anybody wants to do it, I'm happy to share those minutes with you from years ago. Georgette was on the commission probably second longest, and you've been on what, probably 3 years, 4 years, Georgette?
Can't even remember what I did last week. I don't know.
So if anyone's interested in going through those minutes, I'll be happy to forward them to you. But, you know, we have an indication certainly from Dennis and Derek that the drive's 25 years useful life is about at a close. I did get, I think I held up earlier, some things from the Historical Museum, and I'll forward all these things to you. This is a chronology of Duncan Park, 1913 to 1978. And it tells you when the drive, it's not showing up very well, is it? It tells you when the drive was put in, when the retaining wall was put in. And I'm sure we've got records more or less to this effect from the commission from 78 until whenever the commission took over, was at 90 something. And we've got our minutes since then. So if anybody wants to embark on that exercise, I'm happy to facilitate it. I'm not terribly keen on doing the historical piece, but is anybody else interested in doing that? Jennifer?
So funny. So the answer to the maintenance history is no. So let's move.
No, wait, no.
Well, I mean, nobody wants to, I mean, it's clear that, do you want to? Okay, go ahead.
I think it might be something worth doing, right? I mean, I think it's not a short-term project. It's like, you know, it takes some time to go back. And by the way, I have been here, I have not lived in Grand Haven for more than 25 years. I've been only 20, and I remember them repaving Duncan Park. So it has been within 20 years, by the way. I actually just checked that with a friend. So, but I do think I do think that there are things that do need to be maintained on a regular basis, such as our benches, right? And those are, I mean, they're just going to get disgusting if we don't go in there and do something. So I do think there are some things that are man-made that we really should kind of pay attention to, and I not let them just come up that all of a sudden the bench is broken and we need to fix it. I mean, I think we can be proactive and prolong the life of these things.
I think those benches are womanized wood. I don't know I don't know enough about it to know, but my understanding of womanized wood is it's not something you want to stain or prepare for stain or anything like that. I don't have any womanized wood, so I'll defer to others who know.
I have an egress window that's, well, you know, that kind of wood. And you really don't have to do anything, but we'd have to watch it. I mean, until we see something, we would just have to watch it and see what needs to be maintained. But I think on a yearly basis, we have to maintain things.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
Yeah.
Jennifer?
So the maintenance history part that I mentioned was, I just said, no, we don't need to do a maintenance history because none of us are going to go through it. I was just hoping that somebody had a memory that would say, oh yeah, we did this then, or we put these benches in now. So what I did send you guys before was, and I sent it originally in December. I don't know what happened, but I sent you pictures of them and some of the conditions that they're in right now and what they look like. So if you would like, I will put together a list and say that the benches need to be scrubbed down and dried off and linseed oil applied to them to maintain the moisture in it. And it's gonna take this long to do it. And this is what a gallon of linseed oil costs. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So there are things though that like the groundkeeper shed, there is the soffit has been blown off from the front of it. The leaves and the things like that are on the roof of it that need to be swept off before it rots out the shingles and things like that. And the garage door needs to be painted because I don't know what's happening, but it's flaking and the bottom piece looks like it was replaced at one point. So do you want me to write all that down and then somebody will go and take care of it? I don't know I'm not tall enough to replace the soffit. So I don't know how those things how do we execute something like that?
I think we hire it done.
Oh. What if it's things that some of the things that we wouldn't mind doing ourselves?
Knock
That's
yourself
just
out.
me. I don't have a full-time job, so.
I'd say knock yourself out. Let us know what you're doing, and if you get,
No, and
you
as
get
far as any
blowback,
kind
then
of,
you'll get blowback.
right, and any kind of paint or anything, I don't know if the city gives you a deal, but my husband, because he was a painter, he gets a deal on all that stuff. So save some money. Pardon me?
Let's do a purple shed.
There you go.
3 girls against 1. Okay, so let me go back again. If you guys, Georgette, did you have anything else that needed to be added to this list? Do you remember?
I think you have it on the list. I just didn't realize it. Originally, the trails, like the maintaining the trail, those are essentially man-made.
Yes. Okay. Yes, they are. So when it comes to I'm going to put what I think is the highest priority, but I'll put together everything that I think, anything that's basically made out of wood or metal at this point. I'll do the pricing on it. I'll see what I can do. And I do, if you don't mind, I'll do some experimental things on the pylons and see if I can do it. I've been doing some research on it, but I'd have to try a couple of you know, scenarios with it. I mean,
Right.
the point that they're pretty trashed anyway, so I don't think I can make it any worse.
Roger, do you know that those benches are all made of walmanized wood or?
I believe they are. D. Baker
All of
did the one along the drive there. D. Baker did, I think there were 4 additional ones that were placed, one along Sheldon, one along the drive between Sheldon and the parking lot. There's one on Lake, and there may be one other. Yeah, it's up on the top of the hot dog hill there. Then there was an Eagle Scout who put 4 benches on the trails. And I believe all 9 of those benches are womanized wood.
Okay. When I go walk in there next, I'll go check that out. So you're probably right, but I'll just look anyway, just see.
Good.
But yeah, there's things, Jennifer, that Chuck and I can go over there and check out that shed.
That'd be nice. That piece of soffit that blew down is leaning up against the garage door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because he's real good at all that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. So I will come back with more information on this other stuff. So I'm done.
Next item on the agenda is Georgette's proposal for Grand Haven Area Community Foundation's volunteer projects during the 50th anniversary work session, Tuesday, May 18th. Georgette?
Yeah, so it looks like you made a list of from my proposal. You kind of listed it out. Is that
It
right?
helped me. I thought it might help others too.
I'm sorry, I'm just pulling that out here. That's not it. Yeah, thank you for doing that. I think there are a lot of things that they could do. I obviously have a few things that I would like them to do. And when we took the walk with Kurt, I felt pretty, I think trail maintenance went up to the top of my list after that walk with Kurt. So that's kind of the very first one, create a border along trail. But there were also some places that we thought rebuild and maintain trails in other parts of the park. So that's 1 and 3. So the second one, I think I can bring another Eagle Scout to the park on this one, I think. I looked at an Eagle Scout project behind Church of the Dunes, and the kind of steps there were exactly what Kurt had sort of talked to us about. I think it's the ones that you probably have seen at West Olive, the park down there. So I don't think that's number 2 is on the list at all. And then there were these other maintenance kinds of items. I think that would be really helpful. But in addition to the trails, I think I'm in favor of the kind of last 3 items. We haven't had a natural inventory done in the park for a little while now. And I think that's something that in addition to the man-made items, sort of maintenance inventory, I think a natural inventory of our trees is really important to do. And so I'm just thinking that might be a really fun thing as well for volunteers to do. And it's a very large project. It would take quite some time, I think, to have. I mean, what I imagine doing is eventually what Drew Rayner did for us with respect to the hemlocks. But our other major trees and in the park that are also endangered at this point would be the oaks and the beech. And so I think having some kind of GIS inventory of those would be a really excellent first step in doing what I think is a really important kind of inventory for us to have in the park. So that's,
I don't disagree with, go ahead.
I'm sorry, those, I was grouping the last three things into that kind of category.
From my perspective, you've got an undetermined amount of volunteers for 2.5 hours.
It's up to 10.
So I'm kind of thinking some of those projects are just too big to chew off. I would think, you know, from my perspective, certainly the reinforced steps, I think your idea about it being an Eagle Scout project is a great idea. The clean benches, I've already talked about. I think they're womanized, so I don't know that sealant's appropriate. I'll defer to others who know more. But I really like the ideas of my top priority was identifying and caging hemlock seedlings and saplings. I saw today on my drive to work, there must have been a dozen deer in that little hollow where woodlawn snakes around up to lake. And I know when Georgette and I and Kurt walked, we found a herd of 7, was it? You counted?
There's a nice little group, yeah.
But I think those little hemlock seedlings and saplings, if we could kind of nurture those so they could thrive, I think that'd be a great project for 2.5 hours of volunteer work. I agree with you on the border along the southwest quarter of the park, Georgette. I don't know that they could do much as far as reinstituting those wood supports for the trail there by the cemetery. But I think creating a bit more of an identifiable trail by dragging some trees around might be a good project for them. You know, when you've got 10 or 11 people, suddenly things can happen that 1 or 2 of us can't do on our own. So those would be my ideas. And, you know, I think planting hemlocks would not be a bad idea either, or other native species. I think, you know, certainly parts of the forest could use reforestation. But those are my ideas. And I think any of those ideas that you can get 10 people to pull together on for 2.5 hours would be a real benefit to the park and hopefully to their anniversary celebration.
Okay, thanks, Roger. I'm not sure we can plant hemlocks quite yet. I'm not sure we can get them. Maybe Jennifer can. I don't know. I think
Well,
that
this is in May, so I don't know.
I don't know if people can sell them yet because of HWA. You told me something about that, Jennifer. What did you say? I forgot.
I found out through, I have a nursery license, and I found out through the state of Michigan. So I found out that there is a guy in, I don't know if it's an Allendale address or not, but it's off of Fillmore, past the cop station there. And he is one of the only certified people in the state of Michigan that can legally sell hemlocks.
Okay, I've been there.
Yeah, J&K or K&J or something like
But now
that.
I know, and he would not, yeah, okay. That might be new because he brought me around the side of his barn when he showed me the hemlocks. So maybe he can have them. That was a while ago though.
But yeah, I just had the conversation with that guy like a month ago because he wants to come inspect my nursery and I don't have one. I just have a nursery license so I can get discounts on plants. So, but yeah, I can call out there and see if he has any. I have a feeling he doesn't. And and if you do, what size do you want?
Little.
Seedlings, or do you want something that's a couple feet?
You know, my understanding about hemlocks is that the younger you plant them, the better their possibility is. But I don't know, you know, I'd have to kind of look into it. I'd much rather save the ones that are there, right? That they're there and they have their little fungi and they have their little roots, you know. I'd be interested in also, Roger said other native species. I think you had that on the list, Roger, and I think that would be an interesting possibility too.
Jennifer and Nance, do you have any input for Georgette's discussion?
No,
You got something, Nance?
not really. It just sounds good though. Her ideas sound great.
Okay. I am wondering if we should take advantage of them to do the exclosure and then use the hemlocks inside the exclosure. And I know that there's deer fencing from, I'll have to look it up again, but it's Barrett's or something like that. It's $300 for 100 feet of fencing. And you can split that up and probably make 2 of them out of that. So I would think. So if you guys want me to get pricing on that as well and find it, I don't know if you want to do that. I mean, and so you kind of protect the hemlocks, but I'd still like to see that trail being fixed. So if you get 10 people, maybe break them up into groups of 5, that kind of thing. So
I like the idea of the exclosure, and I don't know if anyone else did it other than Jennifer and me, but I did order a significant amount of trillium for my backyard, and I hope to put some in the park. I'm kind of thinking up by where that giant stride was. I think there was a lot of trillium up in that area. And that putting in an exclosure there might be the ticket.
you'd have to show me where that is. Nance is putting her hand up.
No, no, I was getting something off my screen.
Okay.
The exclosures. Now, the city had those exclosures in the cemetery in 2009. I wonder what happened to that fencing.
Oh, I'm sure that fencing's gone by now.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was taken down, but I mean, do they just throw it away or?
Yeah,
I
we
don't
most of the fencing actually didn't survive much. We still have one out in Harbor Island that if we took it down today, it's there's no salvaging it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it just gets overgrown and bent and pushed and prodded. So
Jennifer, I think your suggestion of getting some pricing might be a good idea. If that's acceptable to you, Georgette, do you think the volunteers would be excited about an exclosure?
I think they're usually amazing people who are excited about just about anything doing for us. So I think they'd be happy. I do have a question.
And I think it's doable. You know, if you have 10 people for 2.5 hours, I think it could be done.
Yeah, I think I wanted to ask Derek a question about the exclosures on Harbor Island, if I could. Derek, are you there? Do those have footings?
no, they were just like 4x4s or 6x6 with some larger galvanized. I don't know if it's like a 4x4 square that kind of prevented deer from coming in.
And so what are they doing for you guys?
Well, there's been recent discussion on that's the last one we know about, that once they get put in, everybody just kind of forgets about them. So, yeah, it's.
No, I mean, what is the Grand Haven Community Foundation doing for the city? The city's a site as well.
Oh, we're gonna go over to do some painting at the musical fountain. That's the actual building. So.
Okay. A purple shed, I'm just saying.
I think we're leaning more towards green, but you know.
Okay. no, I think this is great. I'd like to get the pricing. I agree with what everybody said. I'll know, I think I don't, do you know how many people are coming yet? Has Shannon gotten in touch with people about the number for each project? Because I don't actually know if I have 10 or how many I do have yet, so.
She hasn't expressed anything towards us at this point either, just a range.
Well, I think sign up's still ongoing, so they're probably not going to have hard numbers until, another few weeks would be my guess. See how high the idea flies. I don't know. You might have 10, you might have 3.
Well, don't forget, we also have the Day of Caring that it would be nice to kind of think about. There could be like some kind of tag team, a continuous kind of thing, if people put in plants and then the next one could put the exclosure around it too, or I don't know. I just we do have multiple opportunities for people to volunteer in the park. So I appreciate hearing what people think about these ideas.
Shall we move on to discussion of Jennifer's proposal regarding responsibilities of commissioners? Jennifer?
Sure. So to reduce the burden on any one person that's a commissioner, and at the same time allowing the commissioners to learn from this experience of being on the commission, that I think it would be beneficial to everyone if we rotate the terms of the responsibilities. So the president term, the secretary, I think that would be important. I also think that the secretary notes can be, and especially since we're recording things, I think we should record the meetings and be able to write down the notes later on, and then that person can participate. I don't, Aaron's not here right now, but I don't feel that he gets the opportunity to participate because he's taking notes. I know that when meetings I've been in the past, and some of the people, it's called meeting and people skills that I went to at corporations that I've been at, that no one that is participating in the meeting is actually capturing notes. That's a third party, that's a neutral person that has no input or anything. So I think it's really hard. And if you want to participate, it's hard to take notes at the same time. And then sometimes that person's ideas are the ones that actually get captured. So that has happened too in my past. So those are the two proposals on terms with the two most active people on the commission. And, myself, I would like to learn how to do it. I know that I'm not the most professional person, and I am not as educated or whatever else that comes with it, but it's a good learning to do it. And we're not on city council, or we're not, this is still a minor commission, and we should enjoy ourselves, and not everybody should have that pressure on themselves. So we should all carry that burden. The next thing is social media. I believe this from day one, and I was kind of surprised to find out that the Duncan Woods Facebook page or any social media was actually owned by a commissioner. And I think that really needs to be moved underneath the city and be managed by the city. And then we can be editors and have access to that to make it function. And also by doing that, it moves it over to more of an org type of a situation and not under one person. So when you want to go ask for donations through Facebook, or if you want to, hold events and things like that, you can actually do it. If you wanted to have somebody can buy something online, let's say if we do the artist notes with the note cards with the art, local artists work on it, we could actually post that on Facebook and people could actually purchase it. So things of any social media activity at all, and I know that, I know somebody else manages some of the pages for the city. And I think that the Duncan Wood should also be that way. I also suggest that the proposal should be submitted 8 days prior to the commission meeting. These proposals should be sent out to all the commissioners. And what I suggest is you put a title in the subject box and not change that subject between, so that we can track it a lot better and a lot easier and don't overlap the conversations that happen in there. And I believe that we should see that, get enough time for those, actually have discussions, so that we don't have to be here till 9 o'clock at night trying to figure out if we want to make something happen. So such as the maintenance things, those are things that I think that we can have a brief discussion or identify on a form that says, I think this is the most important one to do. And then we move ahead with that instead of taking 3 months to figure out if we want to clean the benches or not. So then if there's any changes in those comments, then that it can be adjusted before that as well. We talked about a calendar at one point. I tried to do it on a sheet, but I do believe that the Google Calendar works just fine, so that we should be notified when the proposals are in, when the meeting is, coming up, that we can, any event that's coming up, it's on there. It's any of us can send it out, and then you just accept that and it's added to your calendar. So those are what I was suggesting. Anybody else?
Georgette?
I'm sorry, what?
Georgette, do you have any comments on Jennifer's proposal?
So I didn't know I was going to get called on. Okay, so I'd
I'm
like
sure
a
you
lot.
call on your students, right?
Yeah.
I had a professor in law school, Professor Berryhill, and he was from Arkansas. And you knew what his question was going to be because he always asked the same question. Why? And, I think it's important, if we're going to have a discussion, that we all have some input into Jennifer's proposal. So I happened to see your little vignette there right below Jennifer, so I called on you. I can speak first if you'd rather.
Yeah, I don't really like being called on, so go ahead, go please.
Nance?
I think it was good. As far as rotating, that's good. What you do, Roger, I have no idea. I would have no idea how to do it. I'd have to come to your house and you have to teach me. But I'm all up for learning. I have no idea. All the things that you do on these agendas, I don't know how to do that. But I mean, I like the idea of sharing, because that's a lot on you. That's a lot of work, and you're still working. And all you people are working except for me.
No, you're going to be working on that soffit on the shed. So
Yeah, okay.
well, I've got a number of comments in the margins here. I have a number of concerns. I want to start by saying I don't mind sharing. I think it's important that we all kind of put our shoulder to the grindstone and move it on down the field. But I don't think the rotation of the officers is a good idea. I think the ordinance is very clear when we hold elections. And I don't think we can adopt a proposal that changes when we hold those elections. I also think a lot of the items in the first 3 paragraphs relate more to bylaws. We can promulgate our own rules and regulations, as long as they don't conflict with law. And I consider the ordinances of the city of Grand Haven law. And I don't think we can contravene that law or the state constitution or the federal constitution with our bylaws. One of the big concerns for me is two legislative acts. Well, actually, they're laws, state of Michigan laws, that we are governed by. In the ordinance, it specifically says we're subject to the Open Meetings Act. In the ordinance, it says we are subject to the Freedom of Information Act. And I think if we were to, and I can tell you from my personal experience when I was deposed by John Tallman, that he asked me to bring recordings of our meetings. And fortunately, I didn't have any recordings for the meetings. So I couldn't bring anything. And I think once you start recording meetings, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, then you run into issues as to who preserves those and how they're preserved and how discoverable they are. And they are very discoverable. As far as the social media question is concerned, I would adamantly oppose any social media account for Duncan Park being owned by the city of Grand Haven. The ordinance says that we shall have exclusive control over the park and the conduct in the park. And I take that very seriously. And I don't think turning over social media accounts to the city to handle for us is the right way to go. I don't necessarily disagree that there should be more than one person on social media accounts, but I also think there should be some agreements regarding those social media posts. The proposals, I really like the idea, Jennifer, about submitting proposals 8 days ahead of time. I think that's a great idea. It certainly made my job a lot easier in assembling this agenda. We are at just shy of 9 o'clock, so we've gone about 2 hours, and we're not through our agenda yet, but there were a lot of proposals. And, you know, I want to think that we all get a chance to talk. We all get a chance to throw our ideas against the wall and see what sticks. And I think that is very, very important to commission work. It's part of the deliberative process. I know at our last meeting, Jennifer, you moved to adopt the designated trails. And I seconded that, and the motion failed because you were persuaded by our discussion to vote against that. And that's part of the deliberative process. I've served on this commission for 8 years. Before this, I served on Planning Commission. I've served on the Audit District Library Board for 10 years. So, you know, I know how these things work. And that doesn't mean that my idea is always the best idea. I listen. I think it's very, very important that all 5 of us listen and get input from people who know a lot more than we do, like Derek and Dennis, and I see Mike Dora has joined us. But I think that's part of the deliberative process. The proposals, I think, are important to circulate. And I like your idea of doing it by email 8 days ahead of time. But I don't like the idea that we can flesh it out between when the email is circulated and when we act on it at our meeting. That's part of the deliberative process that has to be done in the open. We're subject to the Open Meetings Act. And if you circulate emails, I think there's a case in that brochure I circulated last month about the Open Meetings Act that you can take action by email that would violate the Open Meetings Act. So I don't think that's a good idea to banter it back and forth. I think it's a good idea to submit proposals ahead of time. And I think if you're going to make a proposal, if you want the commission to take action, you ought to include a motion. And if you include a motion that we're going to act on, in my view, you should include the cost of that proposal and how we're going to pay for it. You know, there are some things that I'm sure we can do that perhaps we can raise the money to do a specific item. You know, whether it's the boulders or the reinforcing wall or whatever it may be, but I think we can make a proposal that would include raising funds other than depending upon the Duncan Park Fund. So I would also just weigh in against the Google Calendar thing. I don't use it personally. I feel it just sucks all the data out of me. And I don't know how they use the data, but I'm not willing to share my calendar with Google or whoever it may be. So I would not be in favor of adopting Google Calendar as the commission's calendar. So that's my 2 cents. I think there are good things in here and I'd like to pursue the good things, but I also think there's some things in here that I think are illegal. Georgette.
So I think that probably one of the things that Jennifer might be trying to get at, and I think would be very beneficial to our commission, is if all of us had a little more opportunity to be engaged in a more, what is the word I'm looking for? Directorial, to direct the conversation a little more, right? So you seem to always be the one who sets the agenda. I understand that. But I do think that it would be helpful to have a little more of our input on the agenda. And, you know, just submitting proposals is just not the only way to have input on the agenda. I frankly do not like to be called upon. When I have something to say, I will say it. I don't have to be called upon. So that level of control, I don't think needs to happen on a commission that's only 5 people. And, you know, that we need to feel free to say what we need to say, when we need to say it, to think about what other people are saying and to be able to follow up on that. And sometimes we go into the weeds because, I don't know, we like them. So that's okay too. I think that part of what this proposal is saying to me is that one person shouldn't be in control of the conversation that we're having. I appreciate all the work you do setting the agenda. And it's certainly, it's a pretty, I guess, you know, menial task in a way of kind of putting these things, you know, kind of together. But I think that, you know, we should all be participating in that. And I like Jennifer's idea of the proposals because that allows us to do that. So I think that's the sense that I get from this proposal is a feeling of equality within the commission and being able to sort of move things along how, you know, individuals would like to contribute it. I'm very concerned about Facebook. I'm concerned about what happened with the posts on Facebook after our commission meeting. And I don't think that should ever happen again. It was very, I'm going to be very careful about what I say, but I think it was, it created a storm that was unnecessary and attempted to, I think, be hurtful of what happened that day. It misrepresented it. And then to take away another commissioner's access, I think that can't happen again. I think if you don't like Google, I don't like Zuckerberg, right? I'm not a Facebook person, but I think each one of us should be admin on this Facebook. When you come onto the commission, you should have admin rights. I don't know how Facebook is set up, but that interaction was problematic. And I think it was hurtful to the morale of individuals on the commission. Certainly to watch that transpire was distressing. So with respect to Facebook, I think we have to come up with something. We have to come up with a solution to that everybody can live with. And the other thing I want to say is, of course, the legality issues. And I appreciate that you're able to direct our attention to those. I think that it's if you're not careful, it can be very heavy-handed, and it can be a way of controlling the situation. So I would urge us to, if we want to meet as commissioners, we make a public announcement. That I think I understand that to be what's required. And I don't think we should discourage each other from discussing things, even beyond this meeting. I find that to be something that is problematic, right? I think we should be able to respond to emails and ask for clarifications, ask for additional information. I don't know why we would have a problem with that. So those are my thoughts.
All right. There seems to be a consensus that everybody wants to be heard, and I respect that. I also get the sense that everybody wants to have a little bit of a say in the formulation of the agenda. Is there someone that wants to volunteer to put together our next meeting's agenda?
I can
Thank
do
you,
it.
Jennifer.
Team up on it.
And is there someone that wants to put together the minutes from this meeting?
I was hoping that it was being recorded and Aaron can do it, because he can watch it. Oh.
Nancy, do you want to put together minutes for this meeting?
I can, but I don't see if it's being recorded, why we can't do it that way.
You have, no matter what, you have to submit it in paper, on paper.
Right. But I mean, he can, he can watch the video and do it, right?
Yeah, so could you, right?
Well, no, I can. Yeah, I can.
But you're not the secretary. As
But I'm not the
Roger, you pointed this out quite clearly to us before. When Jennifer submitted the minutes, you pointed out that Aaron would be the one who would submit the minutes because he's the secretary. So unless that's going to change, I think.
I'm trying to be proactive here, Georgette. People are saying they want more input. Then, I think Nancy can put together the minutes and let Aaron review them and put his imprimatur on it as the secretary. You want to do that, Nance?
I think I'd like to talk to Aaron about it.
Okay. Okay, why don't we move on?
I'd
Telemarketing
like to,
proposal.
can I say
Jennifer?
one more thing?
Yeah,
One more thing. I also think that when we can be in a meeting and not on Skype or whatever this is, Zoom, don't you think things will be a little better? I mean, this is so formal, and I just think that when we're in a group meeting, when we're face to face, it's going to be so much better. No?
I don't know. The five of us have never met in person, so I don't know if it'll be better or worse.
Oh, nobody's met?
We've all, I haven't met you, but I've served with Georgette for a number of years and Jennifer for a number of months. And we used to have our staff liaison take minutes to address the issue related to, how can you participate and take minutes at the same time? Well, we stopped doing that when Derek, I think, pointed out to us that nobody else did that. So, that falls upon us to take minutes, and somebody's got to do the minutes. Otherwise, we won't have minutes to look back on to see when we maintained the road or the retaining wall or whatever it is. Minutes speaks on our actions. So somebody's got to do the minutes. What I'm going to do, Nance, is I'm going to go ahead and share my notes with Aaron. Aaron can prepare the minutes. But if everybody wants to participate, then everybody needs to participate. Jennifer?
I'd like to follow up on this after all the comments, but I do believe Nance was saying that maybe we'd be more human-like towards each other if we're all in the same room instead of video. I don't think she was meaning to do the take the minutes at that point. So back to my main part of this proposal was that the president and secretary terms, I checked out and researched and asked questions, and it is possible and it is legal for us to vote on a yearly basis and rotate those positions. The social media.
I disagree with you on that. The ordinance specifically says when a new member is appointed, that's when you have an election.
Okay.
It could happen every year. It could happen every month.
So again, it can happen every month if we wanted to vote in a new president. So there was a little bit of research done recently after the last meeting. So I did call people from the city and they said it was okay if we wanted to do something like that and rotate it. So for us to share those responsibilities. Again, the social media, sorry, that needs to go to the city. It's active under the city. They need to manage it. I mean, if like right now it's under your name, you quit, you take that with you.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do. You can't transfer it.
Well, somebody transferred it to me.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how it happened, but I assure you that once I'm off the commission, I'm going to give it to whoever the commission decides is the appropriate person to have it.
Okay.
I happen to believe the president should have control of it. I don't think the city should have control of it, given the ordinance about our control of the park and the administration of the park.
I don't believe the city is, I believe that you'd still, or we as commissioners would manage the account or any social media account. But if we put it underneath grandhaven.org, since then we can take donations directly from that. And if anybody goes rogue on it, then they control it at that point. So
let's do this, Jennifer. Why don't you research that and bring us a proposal with a motion to adopt, okay?
Okay, so here's a proposal right here. So, okay, so then the other thing too is if I have, I have no problem being recorded during these meetings. I have no problem with emails being recorded and any FOIAs that come from that. It's really nice to have it documented. So I was also told when I talked to the city that it is okay for commissioners to have a conversation so that they can help understand what their proposals are. So there's nothing illegal about us having conversations. Because I do believe we need to work as a team. We need equality amongst everybody because no one's better than anybody else. no matter how educated they are, or what their life experiences are. And this should be an enjoyable time. We should enjoy being with each other. We should enjoy making the park nicer and accessible to people. So right at this point, my personal feeling is that this is not enjoyable at all. This should not be a battle. So that's what I believe that we should be as a team. So, all right, I'm done.
Anybody have anything else? Shall we move on at 9:13 to the trail marking proposal? Jennifer?
Oh, I thought you nixed that with the other trail thing. So it's not on here.
Yeah, I thought it was too.
Is it in here?
It's not on here. If you were listening when we discussed the agenda, I suggested that we add item I, trail marking proposal, because I inadvertently left it off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was from your meeting with Kurt. I didn't realize that it was mine. Anyway, again, I handed out a bunch of stuff, images and ideas, and with pricing, and it was a proposal. It had pricing, and what it would cost to identify the trails with 4x4 womanized posts that were painted and routed the word trail, a marker on the top that identifies the name of that trail, and then coordinating colored diamonds to be marked along that trail to make sure people know that they're on that trail. And then another post that would give us to our connectors and say you're going, I named a couple for the fun of it, that it would be that we're on Martha's Loop, and then there's a connector that goes to the East Ridge Trail, and then those would be marked at the top and the bottom. And it would be dependent on if you guys wanted to do, if it's a good idea, if you'd want to mark the trails, which I think is important. And all I'm doing is mimicking what is out there already at the trail systems that exist in the United States and national parks. And the North Coast or North Country Trail that cuts through Michigan is that there's little diamond markers along those trails to make sure that people know that they're on a trail and they're not lost. And oddly enough, I did get lost hiking by myself once, lost the diamonds and then turned around and went back until I found the diamonds. And then it was kind of scary that I misplaced where I was. So I was on a road, but I didn't see the diamond when it moved. So anyway, not that that's going to happen in Duncan, but at the same time, I think it's very important for people to stay on the trails and to save the understory. So that had a proposal that had dollars, what it would cost. I had a pricing from the sign company, but it would be something if somebody actually liked the look of it. I don't know where to go with it after this. So
Okay, I printed that out. So I have all that information. Do you have that in front of you, the rest of you?
no, I don't. I didn't realize. Yeah.
Oh, I printed it out. And you all looked at it, right? What Jennifer sent?
We don't like to be called on, Nance.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my God. Whatever. You looked at that though. In general, everybody looked at it. And it looks great. I think it looks great anyway. And after walking in Hoffmaster and Hoffma and some of the other parks, it's great. It's good. I think that would be very good for Duncan Park. Well, Duncan Woods to me.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like Georgette stepped out for a minute, so I'll weigh in here. The way I read the two proposals, it looked like it cost about $1,320 plus labor.
Yeah.
And that would inject how many trails? How many trails would it be marked?
In front of me, I'd have to close out. I don't have the ability to look at two screens at one time, so I don't have that in front of me.
Okay. My concern is that I'm not sure it fits into our duties. I looked at Martha Duncan's deed of trust, and she emphasizes that the natural beauty of the forest shall be preserved to the extent possible. I'm not sure that, you know, I think it's good the North Country Trail is marked, because I think you can get lost on that thing. But I don't think you can get lost in Duncan Park. And I just don't think it fits with our purpose. I think trail marking is fine for a wayfinding method, but for Duncan Park, I don't think it's necessary. And I'm not in support of this.
So are you saying that the map then? How if you have reference to a map, where do you know where a trail starts and where it stops?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
So if you're holding a map in your hand, you know where it starts and where it stops, and where you should be walking or not walking, or from the kiosk where a trail would start?
Well, I don't think we're quite at the having the map in your hand phase yet, and I hope to have a map on the kiosk. But I'm thinking a person or a family could look at the kiosk and say, well, gee, why don't we take this trail? We haven't been along this trail for a while. And, you know, I think for the most part, you can just follow the trail. I don't think you need signs or signposts in the middle of the trail to say which way you're going.
How do you know where the trail starts, though? I'm just saying, like, if you reroute a few trails, I mean, how do they know where they? My main reason for wanting to do this and identify the trails and mark the trails is to save this understory.
I don't think this is going to accomplish that. And let me tell you why. When Georgette and I and Kurt walked through the trails, there were a number of trails that led off one way or another. And Kurt explained it, and I emailed that to everybody before our meeting last month, that people were going to go on the trails because it's the shortest point between A and B. And if we're going to prohibit people from going on these spurs, you know, I think that's a different discussion. If we think that we can encourage people to follow a trail because it's marked, maybe, but I don't think it's worth what we'd have to pay to do it. Specifically over $1,320 plus the labor, and we're putting in 20 signs and 20 posts. I think Nance said earlier, a couple meetings ago, that we have too many signs already. So I don't support it. I don't think it's necessary for a wayfinding method. And I think that we can take steps, less expensive steps, to encourage people to stay on the trails that we feel are appropriate to designate.
So, not to beat a dead cat, but I mean, I know, I understand that's your opinion, and you're not a hiker, and you don't go, I mean, you don't go to national parks, and I don't know, maybe you do, who knows? But I know why that the national park system marks trails, and that is two reasons: not to get lost, and the other reason is to keep foot traffic off the understory. So I would highly encourage that we do some sort of marking of these trails and identification of the trails. I would actually even like to have community input on naming the trails and kind of make it some sort of activity and input from them. And maybe they want to have that happen. But I think that you're wrong when you say that people won't follow the trail and they'll go wherever they want. I think the majority of people will stay on the trail. And if they understand that they're only supposed to leave footprints and take memories with them, that they will do that. I feel that's, if we had a mission statement, our main goal of why I want to be on here is to save the understory. And that's why I feel so strongly about having the trails made and determining which ones are which. And the numbers will change. I don't know, because I wasn't with you on your walk and what you decided with Kurt on what trails needed to be there. So the number of how many signs, and I don't think $1,300 is super expensive for those signs at all. So to put posts and things in, and I think it's a minimal amount to save the understory. So, yeah.
Any other discussion? Georgette?
Sorry, I'm not really feeling great. So I think we should have this, we should keep thinking about this. And I think we should think creatively about it as well. Because I think there are some opportunities to do some demarcations on the trails that would be meaningful. So I think it's something that maybe kind of even taking it a little bit more, sort of thinking a little bit more out of the box. Are they just marking where it is that you should go? Or maybe we can provide a little nature information along the way too, right? Here's a jack pine, or here's, something. So I just think like maybe, I think we should perhaps think about this a little more and think some sort of out of the box, so to speak, right? Because Duncan Park is not a big park. It is not. And I would hate to see it get too, I don't know, signs everywhere, breaking up the scenery, blocking my mind, whatever that song is. I don't want to see that happen, but I do think we could think creatively about how to do what Jennifer wants and how to maybe provide some, sort of educational piece on the trails as well. So I'd like to kind of keep this discussion going. I think it's worth having. And I would just I just don't want to see it just go away, right? I think it's worth talking about.
Georgia, I love that idea. Instead of having little blue markers, mark the trees. And then when people go through and they identify, they see that instead. And then that's educational on top of marking it. It's a great idea.
Yeah, we could do something like that. And I think it would be kind of cool for people, not just to walk through, but to know something about what they're walking through.
Right.
So.
Great idea. Okay.
Oh,
Everybody's done with trail marking? Is there other new business at 9:26? Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Chair would entertain a motion.
the minutes.
Move.
Jennifer moves to approve the minutes. I'll second. Everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Without wanting to call on you, Georgette.
I did review them, and I do find our minutes, perhaps one thing that we could think about that would make minutes a little more manageable for people to do is I've always been under the impression and been on committees where you do not say what people say in the minutes. You just say what is done, what is decided on. So I think that might actually help. I feel like there's a little bit too much, I'm not gonna try to edit it, right? But I would encourage us to do a little bit of less of he said, she said in our minutes. It seems a little unprofessional. And we should speak to what we did do, not necessarily what people say. And that's just my understanding from Robert's rules about what minutes mean. And I think that would make minutes much more manageable. Yeah, that's my thought.
So you want to convey that to Aaron?
Well, I don't know what is Aaron's contribution to this. If he felt like he was kind of doing the dialogue while watching the Facebook live stream. I will be happy to talk to him about that, if that would be possible.
I think that if you wanted to volunteer to be secretary, I think he'd be happy to step down.
So I would volunteer to be secretary. No problem. If we could always record the meeting. It was really refreshing to hear Jennifer say what I had said before, and that you kind of made fun of me for, Roger, that I couldn't listen to the meeting and take the minutes at the same time. And actually, it isn't that I can't do it. I can do that. I just don't think I'm as good of a participator in the minutes if I'm doing that. If you need somebody to do the minutes and you need them to do the minutes in the way I've just described, I can talk to Aaron about that.
Why don't you do this month's minutes?
Okay, so first you're telling Nance to do it, and now you're telling me.
I'm looking for people to step up.
I think you're not hearing me. What I'm saying is that I would like to know that the minutes should not have people's he said, she said conversations. They should be about what was accomplished. Like you were talking about, for example, for, the maintenance sort of information, it provides that kind of history. I would be happy to write them with somebody else, Jennifer or Nance. I would be happy to help them write those.
Let's do this. How about if you guys figure out the minutes and send them to Aaron, and he'll put his imprimatur on it. Okay?
Sort of the way Jennifer did it the last time? Is that what you're saying?
What I saw from Jennifer were more or less, those weren't formal minutes, and I'd be happy to send you the template that Aaron uses if you'd like that.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
In the long run, Aaron's just going to watch this, and then whatever we give him, then he's going to tweak it. So why are we doing this? Why doesn't Aaron just watch it? He's the secretary right now. He can watch it. It's recorded, and he can write down the notes or the minutes. It's just, we're arguing about something that's stupid.
I agree. I'm looking for somebody to step up and do the minutes. Georgette, will you do that?
Like officially? And you?
No, we have to vote you in. You can't do that. You can't be secretary.
I can appoint an acting secretary, and she can prepare the minutes and submit them to Aaron for circulation. Will you do that, Georgette?
Sure.
Thank you. Any other discussion about approving the minutes of February 16th? If not, I'd ask all those in favor of approving those minutes signify by saying aye as I call your name. I'm going to start with you, Nance.
Aye.
Roger votes yes. Georgette?
No.
Pardon?
No.
Jennifer?
No, as well. I have an issue with part of it. So.
Okay, let's do this then. The motion fails 2-2 with Holland and Sass voting no. We will put this on the agenda. You'll put it on the agenda for next month, Jennifer. And if people want to offer amended minutes or corrected minutes, then that should be on the agenda and circulated 8 days in advance. But we have to adopt minutes, and if these minutes aren't acceptable to 2 out of 4 of us, then you guys need to figure out what's going to make it right for you guys, okay?
Sure.
Next item is the president's report. I have no report. Treasurer's report, I circulated financials. Are there any questions for Amy Bessinger?
I have one question, and probably Derek can answer this. On the water, is that just a lawn thing? Or are you charging us sewer as well? Because one time I caught the city charging me for a sewer meter. And I go, if you can measure how much is going out of the house. So I'm just wondering, because it's significantly cheaper if they're not charging us for sewer. So do you know that answer?
Yeah, I have looked into that. It's just water.
Okay, all right, thank you. Do we know if there's any leaks in the system? I guess that's something when whenever the irrigation guy turns it on, that there's no leaks. It just seems expensive. That's all for how much sod we actually have, but.
Right. Something to look into. I haven't looked into the actual usage.
Okay, all right, that's just the question I had. Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought him back.
I have a question as well about the electricity. So there was some of that electricity was put in there, and it says nativity. And I think Derek and Roger were going to figure that out. What was decided about that source of electricity, which we're charged for, but we don't use?
Eric, I'll defer to you.
Thanks, Roger. We did find out that service was just being it would occur in minimum charges. We did end that and ask for the Journey of Bethlehem to pay for that, or if not, end it. And they did discontinue it in November of last year.
Oh, they did? Oh.
Yes, they did.
I thought it was on there.
So that pole is still there, though.
But the meter has been pulled, therefore there's no charges coming from the BLP.
Okay.
And something the commission, maybe Roger, I think we talked about this previously, commission or whatever can decide if they want it removed or, it's in the park. It's a significant infrastructure. I mean, it would cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to replace or reinstall. Just long-term, you can just leave it there, and if you would need to use it, you can install the meter. If you definitely wanted it gone permanently, then it could be removed. But yeah.
Yeah, I would say keep it there, and if we need it, then we can utilize it. I think it's what, $125 to put in the meter, or does anybody know that rate?
Yeah, it's $125 to start the service up and $125 to discontinue it. So they got you coming and going, but but either way, it's yeah.
Okay.
Professionally, I'd probably say just leave the pole, and if you ever need power there,
Right. So it basically cost us $400 over a year. And if we need it for an event that we're having, or if we want to just put it in for the summer, it's actually cheaper to have it there for 3 months than it is to pay for it year round of it just sitting there.
They priced the stop and starting of that at a very close.
Yeah. So it
might be strategic. So just FYI.
I noticed that on one of these bills, I mean, it was $26, and then it was 30 something. And I'm like going, oh, some kid was over there with charging their phone something, jamming on something for sure for like $10. But yeah, no, I thought we made that agreement back in November too. I just didn't realize that something actually happened. So very cool. Well, there we go. There's $400 towards the, the trail markers. We're almost there.
Clear, Derek, as I understand it, the meter has been pulled, so we incur no further charges.
No.
But it's been our understanding that it would be better to leave the pole there in case service is needed at some time in the future.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready for your report, Derek?
Yes, the only thing I have, we touched on the paving, so we're good to go there. But has been one request when we talked about bathroom facilities citywide last night at the council meeting, that there be a request to Duncan Park Commission to have a porta-john installed somewhere in the parking lot for the public. We do bid out that service. We have multiple porta-johns around the city that are serviced seasonally. They show up starting in April, and we have extras during high times, and so we manage that throughout the year. It wouldn't be hard to add one more to Duncan Park and have those charges, assigned to your budget if you wanted to do that. If I remember correctly, a standard porta-john, like $67 a month, and an ADA would be like $80. That's to come out weekly and clean it and all that stuff. So we have recently gone to an ADA style at each park that only has one. So if we only got one there, it's going to get an ADA. If we have two, we'll get an ADA and a regular. So just an FYI, there was a request for that, and for your consideration.
You may not remember, Derek, we had a porta-john in there at one point. And Dennis, you probably remember that it was burned.
Yeah, I did. It did, and that's a good place to vandalize something, that's for sure, because it's very secluded there, at night. So yeah, that's something to consider if you're going to put one there. No doubt about that.
It was quite an exciting night. I remember the fire department was there, and of course they bring a bunch of units into the woods to make sure the woods don't burn down with the porta-john.
I don't remember that part, Raj. I don't live that close like you do. I just remember it was burnt down. I don't remember all the details.
Is when you say it was brought up, is that on the wish list for council, Derek, or is that a directive from the city manager, or what is it?
No, it's just from a resident.
Resident?
Yes,
No,
sir.
it wasn't. It was that
Well-
guy right there in the bottom. I was listening last
It
night.
was.
And
So
I
he
don't
was-
think it was just a porta-john. I think he wanted a freestanding unit with running water and everything.
No, actually, it was Councilmember Dora who brought it up, not as a directive from the council, but as a suggestion as a resident.
Yes.
If
Sorry,
anybody
Mike.
wants to add that to the agenda, please get that to Jennifer by 8 days before our meeting.
So, sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to out you on that, huh? I think it's, I mean, just because you burned one of them down doesn't mean that everybody else has to suffer, right? I don't know. They're so attractive, though. Can we get one with like a moon on the front, with a wooden door kind of cut out? There we go. That would work.
Perfect.
Yeah, would ya? We can cover it in wood. We can make it happen. Anyway.
Anything else, Derek?
That was it.
Okay. Let's move on to old business at 9:42.
Oh, it's still.
Georgette, I may have neglected to put a forwarding date on your Forest Stewart partnership. Do you want to defer this for a while? Do you have something to go on?
I am hoping to maybe after the the Community Foundation. So it's kind of deferred till May would be best.
Let me see if there's anything else in here that's not deferred. Seed bank.
I don't know anything from Ally. We have not been able, I haven't seen her at all this semester. I've asked her about it, but I don't know. So I guess that would be a good one to get in touch with her about. haven't seen her.
So what should we do with this? Should we leave it on old business? Should we exit out? Jennifer's making an agenda for next month. What should you do with it?
You know, being dependent on sort of somebody else to do this, I can't do it. They have the data and I don't know what the data is. I would say I will keep it on my radar. If we can exit out, I think that would be a useful thing to do. It doesn't have to suck our time here, and because I haven't heard anything.
Why don't
And
we put this to September? Does that make sense?
okay,
That way it's still on our radar, but we don't have to deal with it each month. Kiosk, I think I've given a full report on that. Kurt Tahar hopes to have a trail map to us by the end of the week. History, I have circulated my draft to Georgette, see if she can contribute something to it too. As I said, I got some nice materials in from the Tri-Cities Museum, and the rules, I've circulated that as Exhibit H. I'm hoping that the kiosk map and all of that piece will be done. If we approve it at our April meeting, it could be up May. Any other old business? 9:44, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Anybody that's managed to get through our meeting tonight and has anything to say, I'd encourage you to call 616-844-8324. We are live on YouTube. I think there's a method by which you can chat or get your message known to Derek Gatos. And I believe you put a chat number in earlier, Derek.
Yep, I have, I'll repeat it one more time. Area code 312-626-6799 is the direct YouTube or Zoom number you can call in. We can let you into the meeting. I've been monitoring not only YouTube, but also the city's Facebook account for any comments, and there haven't been so far.
Okay. While we wait for the public to chime in, Dennis, could I ask you for your input tonight?
Sorry about that. It's been an interesting meeting, that's for sure. But I'm glad you guys are talking about what to do with the trails and stuff. You know, I think that's a good idea. And of course, the paving is, I'm glad that's settled too. So, but all in all, I think it's been an awful long meeting, that's for sure. But other than that, I think it's been pretty good.
Well, it has been long, Dennis, but not quite as long as your meeting last night.
No, not, no, not as long as our last night. No.
And once again, I'd like to express the commission's appreciation to you for ferreting out a $3,000 savings for us. Thank you. Mike, I know you've been on not quite the whole meeting, but do you have anything to chime in?
I was at the planning commission meeting just before this one, Roger. So that's why I was a little bit late, but typically I try to make them. This winter, my wife and I have spent many days in the park. Consecutive days. I can't even tell you how many, snowshoeing on the trails, wandering around.
But you're not camping, are you?
No camping. There's no toilet. We talked to a lot of people while we're in there, being the friendly kind of guy that I am, and her, and a lot of the folks that we see walking in there, and I'm just throwing it out, kind of just walk on the main road, goes back, and they don't venture far off from that because they don't really know where all the trails go. So they're not really adventuresome enough or spirited to just take off on a trail and not know where it's going to end up. So, maybe just, a map that kind of shows a general area of where they go would help some of them folks feel better. I'm not sure. But we've enjoyed the park, for many, many days this winter and continue to do so now. So, I appreciate everything you guys do to keep it open and available for everyone to use.
Thank you. Derek, is there any comment from the public?
There is none, sir.
Commissioners' comments at 9:48. Our next meeting is Tuesday, April 20, 2021 at 7 p.m. Is there any other business to come before the commission?
I have one thing, next, I don't know if you want to do this in an email or this way, but next month, April, for our meeting, I will be on the road. I'm going out to the state of Washington to pick up a new dog. So, I'm RVing it. So I will come to the meet. I'll be in the meeting if there's, if I can get on. I have no idea what the reception will be. In the great Northwest, I don't know.
It kind of depends where you are. If you're,
That's what I'm saying. I don't know, so I'll try.
So you're giving your notice that you might be in absence 30 days.
I might be absent. I'll try not to be, but if I can get reception, I'm good.
So an approved absence.
Is there any other business to come before the commission tonight? Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Been moved by Georgette, seconded by me. I'll call the roll call vote. I'll start with me. Yes. Georgette,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and Nance.
Yep.
Motion carries 4-0. We'll stand adjourned at 9:51. Thank you all for